Good evening. I would like to call the Peoria Public Schools Board of Education meeting for February 24th, 2024 to order. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick. Mr. Claus. Mrs. McConnell. She is online. Dr. Rankin.
Here.
Mrs. Ross. Mr. Wilson. President Murphy.
Here.
We have 6 present.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
and
with liberty
justice for all.
for
Okay, sure. Yeah, for any families that are just coming into the room, there's some seats over here to my left, down kind of in the front 3 rows if you're looking for places to sit. All right, moving on now to announcements. Mr. Wilson, would you like to start?
Yeah, appreciate it.
Oh, you know what? Before we start that, I apologize. Hang on one second. Let's take a look at the boards here. To my left, we have, looks like Tree Win has put up a really nice, colorful board up here. Crack open a good book, and it's got a list of some really great books and some celebrating Black History Month. So great job to Tree Win. Also some cooking pages down there too. So check those out. Up here on my right, it looks like we have Knoxville Center for Success. Let's see here. Yeah, they did a good job as well for Black History Month, and they got some great pictures of. It looks like some folks in our district up here. So if you get a chance, come up and take a look at the boards. Thank you to both of those schools for the boards. If you want to go ahead and start with announcements.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that, President Murphy. Chess Championship, the 2024 PFT/Peoria Public Schools District 150 Chess Championship will be this Saturday, February 17th, 2024 at Lincoln K-8 School. High school students are welcome and encouraged to battle it out for the top awards in the district. Register online at pftd150chess.com. I'll repeat that one more time. pftd150chess.com, or pay $1 at the door.
Peoria Promise applications are now open and will be available to all Peoria residents who have lived in Peoria or West Peoria for at least 4 years until May 15th. For more information, please see their website at peoriapromise.org.
Thank you. Ms. Kostick?
Spring break learning session. Registration for spring break learning session is now open. Please visit psd150.org/spring to register your students by March 1st. The fun-filled week will be from March the 25th through March 28th with transportation and meals provided. Thank you.
National SRO Day. This Thursday, February 15th, is National School Resource Officer Appreciation Day. Be sure to celebrate the officers that keep Peoria Public Schools safe on Thursday. It's also Martha Ross's birthday.
February marks the month-long celebration of Love the Bus, a time to show gratitude towards the dedicated professionals who ensure the safety of students on their journey to and from school. The PPS Transportation Department will be celebrating Transportation Staff Appreciation Day next Wednesday, February 21st. Don't miss the chance to show your appreciation.
Superintendent Learn at Home Challenge. This initiative challenges K-8 students to learn at home to earn either a bike, tablet, or gift card. A prize has been reserved for every student who completes the challenge by March 22nd. Go to psd150.org/challenge to get started.
President's Day reminder. All schools and offices will be closed next Monday, February 19th to observe President's Day. And then the FAFSA reminder. Attention high schoolers and guardians. If you have not completed the FAFSA, this is your sign to get started or ask your counselor for help if needed. Filling out the FAFSA as soon as possible is required for anyone seeking financial aid towards college or technical schools. Reach out to your school counselor for more information. All right, moving right into our community contributions and awards. We will start with Lynn Lane, the principal of Sterling Middle School.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Karai. I would like to ask that Darlene Violet come up to the podium. Darlene works with Shared Blessings, and Shared Blessings sponsored Sterling Middle School in December and raised over $9,000 for our school so that we are able to give back to our students and help them with all of the different things that they need, whether it be school supplies, clothes, snacks, different supplies to take home so that they can continue their learning at home. So we have been very blessed and fortunate for the community support for this, but also spearheaded by Darlene. So she has been our own Sterling blessing for us. So on behalf of Peoria Public Schools and Sterling Middle School, we'd like to present you with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I really admire what all of you do for the teens and the children in Peoria.
Well, yeah. Well, Darlene, thank you so much for what you do with Shared Blessings. I know your work well. We've worked together on other projects, so I know what you do makes a big impact in our community and for our school. So thank you, Darlene. We really appreciate it. All right, moving on now to Remarkable Spirit, Chris Rowetter.
All right. Good evening, President Murphy, Vice President Dr. Ranking, distinguished board members, our student board member, Dr. Karat, CFO Board Treasurer, Mr. Willis, and Board Secretary, Ms. Ross. Once again, I am pleased to be here to recognize some truly amazing PPS family members. First, I want to call up one of our amazing principals, Mrs. Carrie Berger, the principal at Dr. C.T. Vivian Primary School. And next, I would like to call up Ms. Rhonda Ware-Thompson. Ms. Ware-Thompson is a SEL paraprofessional at Dr. C.T. Vivian. Mrs. Berger will tell you something about Ms. Ware-Thompson and why we recognize her this evening.
Well, our whole staff was going to probably echo what I would say to you, that there's not a thing that Miss Ware Thompson, or Miss Rhonda, as all of our kids call her, doesn't do for our schools each and every day. Those are her babies, as she says. She comes to school every day for her babies. And whether it's in the lunchroom, on the bus, on the playground, or just in the hallways, whatever they need, Miss Rhonda is there. She goes above and beyond, and she is a worker. And she just is always doing it to support her babies. So it is a great honor. Yeah, her cowbell. That's what we do for our attendance initiative.
Next, I would like to call up the fabulous principal of Franklin Primary School, Mrs. Emily Maston. I would also like to call up Mr. Trent Johnson. Mr. Johnson is a family school liaison through Family Corps at Franklin. Mrs. Maston has a few words to share about Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to keep it short. There's a lot of things that we can say about Mr. Johnson. He is truly one of our biggest assets at Franklin. But he goes above and beyond every second of every day. He does everything he can to support every member of our community. That includes our staff, our parents, our children, and he is the first to respond to any need in our building, even if he's doing 5 other things at the same time, okay? He has very high expectations for our students, and he does not lower those at any moment in time for them. So we want to acknowledge Mr. Johnson for everything he does. I know he's not one to like these accolades, but he deserves this.
Thank you.
Okay, up next we have Dr. Ann Bond.
Hello, good evening. So about a month ago, I had a teacher contact me, and he was just really excited about a fellow colleague of his and said, you know what, I really feel like we need to recognize this person. And I'm like, that's such a great idea. So Mr. Brandon Jamerson from Lincoln is going to come up and share his thoughts about one of our other teachers.
Hello, everyone. My
Hello.
name is Mr. Jamerson, and I'm here to acknowledge Adrian Locke. Last semester, I got a student who had trouble with hearing in the general education classroom. And Ms. Locke was so supportive to help this student. She was in constant communication with my team and I. She would come in quite frequently and help this student in the classroom. When the student had an attendance issue, she was there with a plan in place, ASAP. She was hyper-focused on getting this student in a setting that was best for him, and it worked. She was always so supportive to give this student and the teachers suggestions in the classroom, and I just want to everyone know that Ms. Locke is an amazing teacher in our district.
Up next we have Dr. Michelle Hassan.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, President Murphy, President Dr. Ranking, Dr. Karat, all of our distinguished board members, and our awesome, amazing audience. Thank you so much for being here this evening. I'm Dr. Michelle Hassan, and last week was National School Counselor Week. And so Maya Angelou said, "You may not remember what a person said to you. You may not remember what a person did to you, but you will never forget how a person made you feel." And our school counselors make our students and some of our staff members feel pretty awesome every day. School counseling is so different than it used to be. In the old days, you might see your counselor a couple times a year, pick out classes, but now it's so much more. Our students and our counselors are working individually, also in small group settings, and also during lessons. So we really appreciate all of their hard work. There's a definition of a counselor that says they are patient, empathetic, and a resourceful professional who helps students with their goals and challenges. A multitasking ninja who collaborates with teachers, administrators, and parents to develop and implement plans for diverse learners while advocating for students, fostering resilience, and restoring hope. A natural-born problem solver who often thinks outside of the box, a real-life superhero who doesn't wear a cape. So tonight, I'd like to welcome our counselors up to be celebrated for National Counselors Week. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Sharonda Buckner. This year, she was recognized by the Illinois Association of School Counselors yes. She was a nominee for Counselor of the Year.
Oh.
So,
Congratulations.
while Ms. Brooks is helping to pass out these bags, I'd like to share a little story from a parent who called. She was a little upset by some things that were going on, and she said, "My daughter told her counselor everything." And the conversation ended really well, and that she was comforted and that her daughter had someone to talk to. So, thank you all so much for the work that you do every day with our students and with colleagues as well. We really appreciate your hard work.
Congratulations to all of our Remarkable Spirit recipients this evening.
Really nice picture.
Before you go sit down, real quick, we want to have you come up real quick on your way out whenever you're going down. If you would just kind of state your name and what school you're from.
Mike McKenna, Richwoods High School.
Thank you.
Pat Klemaszewski, Liberty Leadership Middle School.
Lori LaFon, Mark Bills Middle School.
Kayla Steele, Elise Ford Allen Academy Middle School.
Keisha Mitchell, Peoria High.
Beth Funcannon, Richwoods High School.
Can I interject? That's Dr. Keisha Mitchell.
Sherry Lemay, Richwoods High School.
Tammy Collier, Peoria High School.
Paula Webb, Peoria High School, the pride of the city.
Tamara Hayden, Von Steuben.
Makaira Pittman, Manual High School.
Celower Hightower, Elise Ford Allen Academy.
Sharonda Buckner, Glen Oak Community Learning Center.
Bianca Brown, Annie Jo Gordon Community Learning Center, the pride of the South Side.
Thank you all for that. Okay, we're moving on now to student recognition. Up first, we'll have Dr. Chris Render.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Render. I have the privilege of teaching these fine young students here. Why don't you guys step one side or the other, okay? I teach at Richwoods High School, as some of you may know. First of all, let's give a shout out to our musical introduction. That is our young student by the name of Jackson Andrews, Mr. Jackson Andrews. giving you a little taste of Faubus, Tales of Faubus there, from Charles Mingus. Well, I'm here to tell you a little bit about recognizing our students for the accomplishments that these guys have worked very hard to earn this year. Nothing was given to them. They really earned this. So if you bear with me as I read this statement here. During the fall of 2023, over 10,000 students from elementary, junior high, and high school students around Illinois participated in virtual audition process, and of those auditions, more than 7,000 students were selected to participate in district festivals celebrating student musicians and bands, orchestras, choruses, and jazz ensembles. The students in grades 9 through 12 participated in the IOMEA District Festival, and they were eligible to be selected for the IOMEA All-State Student Programs. This year, 15,000 students were selected to participate at the Illinois Music Education Association's 2024 All-State Student Programs in Peoria, Illinois, in past January on the 24th through the 27th. Of those 15,000 students, 3 students from Peoria 150 schools earned their place in one of those ensembles there, and that's what we're here to recognize. Yes, I am their teacher. Ms. Hykowski is their teacher. We support them, but these guys did the work. Okay, we in the end they did the work and auditioned and earned their place. And I can't take a moment to say thank you enough for all your work in representing not only Richwoods but also our community in 150. These guys did an outstanding job, and I hope that I encourage you to, at a time that's not now, but to talk to them about their experience, because it's unique, and that's something we should all be very proud of here in 150. The students performed in ensembles that represent the best student musicians in Illinois and came together to present a series of all-state concerts on the 26th for our Jazz Night concert, as well as our All-State Elementary Chorus Concert and All-State Concert and Honors Concerts presented on that Saturday, January 27th. Each of these ensembles were led by distinguished conductors and educators from across the country. The All-State program is run concurrently with the IOMEA Conference, a premier professional development opportunity for music educators in Illinois. This event brings over 12,000 students, educators, parents, and music education industry vendors to Peoria Civic Center to celebrate and promote music education in Illinois. This happens here in our town. People from all over the state come here, and I'd like to make sure that people know that this happens here in Peoria. It starts here. It's so many great musicians are recognized, and they get their start here on the stage here in Peoria Civic Center before they begin. So I want you to be proud of that as well as a member of Peoria. But let's get down to the students, okay? One, I want to introduce, as I already said, but I want to congratulate them on their accomplishment. This is Mr. Jackson Andrews, who made the All-State Jazz Band on baritone saxophone, the Honors Big Band. Making the Honors Orchestra as a freshman, her first time. This is Anda Waternarkit, who made it on oboe this year. Also an accomplishment, especially as a freshman, Mr. Caleb Barnes, who made the All-State Band on flute. I could brag forever on these kids, but I could also tell you that the 3 that you see here are just a small representation of what remarkable students are happening within not only the school district, but also a Richwoods band program. We are all pushing ourselves to become better and represent our community and our school in everything that we do. And again, on behalf of everybody here at 150 students, thank you so much for all the work you've done. We look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future. So thank you.
Congratulations to all 3 of you for your accomplishments. That's incredible. So thank you very much and congratulations. Do we have any of the family members of these students here tonight? If we do, would you please stand? Thank you for all that you do to support the children as well. And Mr. Robertson, thank you so much for all that you continue to do at Richwoods. All right, moving on next. Let's see, who do we have up now? Oh, yeah, Dr. Sharon Damelin Karat.
So this is, thank you, President Murphy. This is our most improved attendance update. And I'm going to ask actually the executive directors to present their schools. But before we do that, and there's the nice thing is, we're going to recognize the most improved attendance for the month of December and January, and they'll tell you a little bit more. But I just wanted to share with the board and the public and our audience, just not too long ago, the White House called on focusing, they're encouraging states and school districts and schools to focus on three things, and it's tutoring, summer school, absenteeism, they said, as pandemic funds winds down. So it was really interesting to look at the strategies that the evidence-based strategies that the White House is encouraging states and districts to adopt, and they identified three strategies. And I just wanted, since we're talking about attendance and chronic attendance, chronic absenteeism, and we've been working on attendance since 2015 with an intentional plan. And I think everything that the White House has recommended as best practices, and they're encouraging states and districts to adopt, we are doing it. And they are, because they have some stats, students who are chronically absent are much likely to read, to not read at grade level and to not graduate. I mean, and we know that. We talk about that all the time. Those of you who are watching the Super Bowl, thank you to the communications department and Halima. There was a nice video clip. I don't know how many of you saw it, with a cute little girl. Did you see it, Deb? A couple of you are waving your hand, talking about a challenge. So that was pretty awesome. And essentially, we talk about students with 2 absences, and if parents are listening, students with more than 2 absences a month are 7 times more likely to drop out of high school. So we want the kids at school. Missing 2 days of school a month adds up to 10% of the entire year. And then by grade 6, chronic absenteeism becomes a leading indicator that a student will drop out of high school. So there's a constant theme, but the things that the White House is recommending as it relates to attendance, and our principals are doing it, we're doing it, is they're recommending, Halima, and you're a huge proponent of sending texts. They're saying sending texts to parents about their children's missed school can reduce absenteeism by up to 17%. And research also shows that targeted parents and family engagement, such as home visits, the adoption of early warning systems. We talked about that, Dr. Hassan, today as well. And a lot of schools, I know Manual has a nice early warning system. They know who's missing and why they're missing. So I just wanted to say we're in target, wanted to introduce that by saying we're in target. We just have to keep doing what we're doing with integrity, and we'll continue to see some improvements. So I'll turn it over to Dr. Hassan to talk about her school.
Okay, last month, Ms. Hawks was here, and she was really excited and said she never imagined herself being here receiving an attendance award. Well, Manual did it again, and this month they have a 5% increase over last year's August to January attendance. Really excited about the work that they're doing there, and part of the work that they're doing is really focusing in on individual students and providing them with the supports that they need in order to be successful. They've also had a little fun with some attendance boosters where their challenges for students to come to school. She recently did a challenge, and there were over 131 students who had perfect attendance in just a short period of time. So really excited about the work, again, that they're doing there and the success that they're seeing. I like to say, as it relates to chronic absenteeism, during Mrs. Hawks' time, she has reduced chronic absenteeism by almost 40%. So.
All right. Good evening, President Murphy, Vice President Dr. Rankin, Dr. Karat, members of the board. I have the pleasure of introducing our second place winner, and they are the second place winner for both December and January for most improved attendance over last year. So if the Franklin team, I know we've got several members of the Franklin family here. If you'll come up and join me, please. They deserve a lot of recognition.
Corey Molson, can you define chronic absenteeism as well for the public?
Yep. So I'll just share, first of all, what I want to say about Franklin. In December, they raised their attendance over last year by 3.6%. In January, they've raised their attendance 2.8%. And that's the trend that we've been seeing all year from Franklin, anywhere from 2 to 4% over last year every month. They were our top attendance winner in August and September and October, and second place in December and January. So they are really working hard. I'd really love for Mrs. Maston to have an opportunity to tell you a little bit about what they're doing. But congratulations to your team.
I'm back. Hi. I said this back in September, maybe. We really just can't do it without our entire team. Our huge push is connections with our families and connecting with our kids, letting them know that we miss them when they return, and letting our parents know that we're here to support. So we're actually having a coffee and donut breakfast on Valentine's Day with some of our families that we've invited just to talk about the impact that improving their students' attendance can have on the rest of their lives. So we will just continue to partner with our families. We invite them to reach out to us as well because we can't do this alone. So thank you.
Good evening, Board, President Rankin, Vice President Rankin, President Murphy. I have the pleasure of introducing the third place winner for attendance for the second month in a row, so December and January. And it is Miss Laura Rogers at the Elise Ford Academy. Can you and your team come up? So Miss Rogers has increased attendance by up to 2.5% each month. And she's been implementing some great attendance incentives for the kids, but I want her to tell you about it. But one of them is about ducks, and I just want you to know that this lady actually has some duck ears that she puts on and a big old duck suit that she wears to get the kids all excited. I took a picture of her in this duck suit, so one day I'll have to share it with you. But Laura, would you come up and share some of the stuff that you're doing?
Besides the ducks.
Yes.
Good evening. So one of our big pushes this year has been the implementation not only at the tiered level for students who need individual support, but really pushing that tier 1, so that global recognition of data, putting data in front of students and teachers, making the connections with families as well. Really the hard work of the attendance team in recognizing not only students, but families and parents as well that are really making a difference in the attendance numbers. As Ms. Brooks mentioned, really at that tier 1 level, getting students excited about attendance and recognizing all of the positives as far as the growth that the students are making on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and a monthly basis. So we're recognizing students at all of those levels. So very exciting, and we only have up to go.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you, everyone, for focusing on attendance and reducing chronic absenteeism. We know that reducing chronic absenteeism can improve, can have a major impact on student performance, and that's what this is all about. So if they're not in school, they're not in class, we can't impact them. So I'm just really proud of everyone for being so focused and intentional, and it's making a difference. We know January is tough for us. We had, 3 e-learning days, the weather. Despite that, you guys were so focused on doing everything you can and getting your children excited and staff excited. So thank you. Thank you,
Dr.
President.
Karat, I just want to add that Ms. Hawk, she's presently being a cheerleader at her son's basketball game, but we still wish her the best.
Thank you. All right, up next, we're going to start district presentations. Up first, we have the TNTP board presentation by Tracy Donath.
Good evening, distinguished board members, and we are so excited to share with you this mid-year TNTP update with all the amazing work that has happened already this school year. But before I get started, I do want to thank the board for their continued support of our partnership with TNTP. This is our third year of partnering with TNTP to support our teachers and thereby supporting our students in the area of mathematics, specifically middle school mathematics, and it is making an impact. So thank you for your support. We're excited to share with you many of the things that are happening. In order to co-present with me, I brought my esteemed colleague from TNTP. This is Dr. Jennifer Jensen, and we will be sharing some information with you on how things are going so far this year.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here again. I think this is about the third time I've had the opportunity to share some data with you. I wanted to start us off by anchoring in our goals. We have solid project goals for all the work that we're doing here. And that first one is to increase access to strong instruction for students. And the headline right here, and we're going to show you some other graphs, but the headline right here is that our strong instruction grew from 22% in August to 41% in December. We also are measuring our students' access to teachers and leaders with high expectations. We started off actually really high in our middle schools with 91% of our teachers indicating high expectations. And so we will do that survey again in May. And then we are working on seeing how we can measure impact on student scores, like on written assessments. So we've done an initial data collection, and we intend to collect that data another couple times this year yet to really see how we're making progress on that. And then we have started to analyze our IAR data, and we're going to share some information with you there too, because obviously what we're doing is we want to impact students, and so we want to share that with you. If we can go to the next slide. We also, though, in addition to what we're doing with our middle school math teachers, we've been working with the District Advisory Council. And that is giving us the opportunity to work on systems for across the district to support strong math instruction. So while our direct teacher contact is with our middle school math teachers, we're looking at how we can support our K-12 math teachers through this group. And so this group this year identified a common challenge of increasing student ownership. And they are currently working, and we have a couple members of that group here tonight, but they are currently working on how we can develop, how they can actually develop some supports to roll out district-wide so that we can really increase student ownership in the classrooms. If we go to the next slide, we're going to have the opportunity to really dig into some of that data that we shared. I started off at the beginning with our strong instruction. We have a way that we calculate our scores all across the country around that. And we say that a score of 2 or higher is an indication of strong instruction. And so that's what you see in that blue part at the top. And you can see how we have grown from August to December in that space. We're going to dig in a little bit more to help you understand even more what that means. So if we go to the next slide, and I'm sorry if that's kind of small. It looks much bigger on my screen. So. First, we look at grade level content. So we want to know if they're focused on grade level content, if there is coherence, they're making connections to prior learning for students, and if it's the right level of rigor. And so what you will see in the chart there on my left side is the August to December measurements, and you can see that we grew from August to December. And we're doing really, really well with our grade level focus, and we're working to improve the coherence and the rigor. However, what I want to remind you of is this is our third year, and so we've worked with some teachers for 3 years, some for 2 years, and then some for just this year. And so if you take a look at that second graph, I want you to see here is that the yellow bar is the teachers we've worked with 1 or 2 years, compared to the teachers that just started working with us this year. So what you can see is that it's something that takes time, right? And it's also about developing the systems of support within the schools. And so I just want to highlight that, and you'll kind of see that trend as we go into our next slides as well. We also measure culture of learning, which is really like the engagement or joy for learning in the class, the sense of urgency around learning. We measure the strong instructional practices, what the teacher is doing in the classroom, and then we look at student ownership. And student ownership is really what students are doing and who is doing the thinking. And so, of course, what we really want in every classroom is students engaged in the thinking. So we'll dig in just a little bit more. And in our culture of learning, you can see we saw an increase from August to December. And I have the indicators there on the right, but really, again, think about this as you walk into the room and you can feel the energy in the classroom, and the energy is about learning, the mathematics, and that's what we're looking for there. And so again, we see growth in that, and we're excited for that. If you go to the next slide, we're gonna take a look at strong instructional practices. And just to highlight here, this is what we provide professional learning for with teachers. So each month they have a PLC. We talk about instructional strategies, and then we're in their classrooms coaching them on using those instructional strategies. And so you can see that growth of from, if you, probably most notably on the left side, you see like in August, there was 43% of not yet. And what you see is that shrunk to only 9% in December. If you look at the other graphic there, then you can see how it's divided out between our returning teachers and our new teachers. And so our returning teachers are definitely have had more practice with the instructional strategies, and so we see that growth continuing there at an accelerated pace. The last slide is student ownership, and you can see here, this is why also as a district advisory council, we're helping to focus in on that, because this is the toughest piece sometimes to move. It's gonna come after the strong instructional practices are in place. And so just know, you can see that we're making strides there, and we're continuing to see some differences every day. And what hopefully you will see here as we get into this next slide is how this is making an impact on our students on the IAR. So what this slide shows you is only for our teachers who have worked with us for 3 years. In 2021, that would be before we ever started working here, the baseline of students that were approaching proficiency or higher on IAR was 9.6% in those classrooms. And you can see in 2023, okay, which is after 2 years, right, of intervention, we have grown that to 26.2%. We consider this pretty significant growth, and we're pretty excited about the impact that we're seeing on students, and we can't wait to see this continue as we look at IAR data this year. And so to celebrate that, do you want to take over here? Okay.
I'm so excited to celebrate that. That growth would not be possible without some amazing staff members. And so we have the 6 teachers that have been working with TNTP from the beginning. We have 3 of them from Lincoln and 3 of them from Mark Bills. Not all of them could be here tonight, but we want to celebrate them and their amazing accomplishments. So I will first start with our Lincoln teachers. Not only do we have them here tonight, but they were excited to celebrate with us. So that's amazing. So I have Holly Walker. She teaches 8th grade. Emily Herdlicka teaches 7th grade. And Brandon Jamerson, which you already heard from tonight, teaches 6th grade. So we're first going to celebrate them and their accomplishments.
Hello, President Murphy, Dr. Rankin, Dr. Karat, and members of the board. My name, as you heard, is Holly Walker, 8th grade math teacher at Lincoln K-8. I have been teaching 8th grade math at Lincoln for almost 10 years. During the last 3 years, my colleagues and I have participated in the TNTP initiative to increase Algebra 1 readiness among our students at Peoria Public Schools. The Common Core standards are challenging for an adolescent who is working at grade level, but for many of my students at least, gaps and unfinished learning are yet another hurdle in their mathematics education. Students enter my classroom and quickly realize they do not possess the skills needed to make sense of the curriculum that is placed before them. This lack of readiness is not only felt by the students, but by teachers as well. At least it was for me. Through the coaching of Anna Vanaselt and her colleagues at TNTP, I have seen significant improvements, not only among my students, but in my own teaching practices. Anna has introduced research-based practices that give my students greater confidence and tools to help them make sense of the curriculum placed before them. In turn, I have been encouraged to be intentional in my delivery of material, connect multiple representations of mathematical concepts, elicit robust student conversation, and assist students in making sense of problems so they have the confidence to share their mathematical thinking with their peers, regardless of their statistical grade level. Teaching trends, fads, and best practices are commonplace in our line of work. And I will just kind of say that the three of us were not completely bought into TNTP during our first year. I admit I'm often skeptical of new trends. However, the coaching and practices I have gained from TNTP have transformed the way I approach the standards with my students. The list of initiatives that has changed the way I teach is incredibly short. I am confident, given the opportunity, other teachers of mathematics would feel the same about TNTP and its impact on students. It is my sincere hope that others across our district are given the opportunity to experience the true mentorship as I have felt during the last 3 years. Thank you.
President Murphy, Vice President Dr. Rankin, Superintendent Dr. Crott, and members of the board. Tonight I'm here to speak about the partnership between TNPT and myself as a 6th grade math teacher. We've worked with them for 3 years now, and the growth I've seen in myself as a teacher has increased. I am more confident in the content and the standards. One aspect that I have enjoyed is the strategies that they have taught us to use in the classroom. We have monthly PLCs in person and in virtual in which they model for us. The strategy helps students make sense of the math and helps students talk about the math to their peers. Some of them also help students connect and compare different models and strategies that students use. After they have modeled the strategy, they come and watch us do it in the classroom. They provide feedback and ways to make it better. The strategies help students grow in math. Furthermore, sometimes we are asked to record so that we can see what our classroom looks like with our students. And that's why the TNTP partnership has been so successful in my classroom. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Emily Hurlichka. I'm the 7th grade math teacher at Lincoln. I've been at Lincoln for 13 years, and I've never had a professional development in terms of mathematics that is as good as TNTP has been. My favorite thing about TNTP is that it's a true coaching cycle. So we start with a PLC where we learn strategies that we're expected to implement, but it doesn't just stop there. Before implementing, Anna is always willing to meet with us and plan our individual lessons so that we can anticipate possible student outcomes with the goal to guide students to the outcome determined by our standard. Then when she comes to observe our implementation, she doesn't just sit in the back and judge. She's walking around, she's interacting with the students, and she's always willing to jump in and help, especially when you give her a look like, this is not what we planned the other day. She's actually more of like a teaching partner when she comes in my room. Afterwards, we get to debrief and talk about what worked and maybe what didn't and what we can do to change that so the next time we implement that strategy, it's a little bit more successful for the students. There's never a judgmental or evaluative feel to it, as many other programs have had. Then the next month, our cycle starts over with a new strategy that we get to implement, all while keeping in mind the past strategies that we have learned throughout the year. These strategies give our students a structure to guide them through their own critical thinking. My students and I know that Anna is there for our growth. It is very clear that the goal of Anna and TNTP is for teachers to grow in their practice and students to grow in their learning, which makes this a partnership worth having. So thank you for your time tonight.
I don't think they gave themselves enough credit for the amazing work that they do. Because these are the teachers, as well as one we're going to recognize here in just a minute, who are the first ones to volunteer to say, yes, you can record me teaching in my classroom when I'm asking for model exemplars. Or, oh, we have 15 people coming from another district who want to watch someone teach. Will you be willing to let all these people stand in the back of your room? And they say, yes. It's amazing. So thank you to you, all of you, for all that you do. I acknowledge it and I appreciate it. But I also have more great news. So I want to recognize our teachers from Mark Bills as well. They are Rachel Mayer, who teaches 5th grade, Janice Glasper, who teaches 6th and 7th grade, and Stephanie Dare, who teaches 7th and 8th grade and a section of Algebra 1, so she is pretty amazing. They teach at Mark Bills, and they are also part of this partnership. Rachel and Janice couldn't be here, but Stephanie is here, so I'd like to recognize her.
So I just wanted to say that I just wanted to be very clear. This is really about celebrating your teachers and the work that they have done. And it's done through relationships. It's done through their relationships with their students and through fostering their relationships with each other. And I'm standing up here next to Stephanie because she's like, I'm not going to speak. But what we are doing is really trying to raise up the teachers in the district to be leaders. And that is what these teachers are doing right here. They're showing their leadership with all the other middle school math teachers. They are helping to lead breakout rooms as we're doing that, because this is about sustainability for Peoria Public Schools. So I just want to take another moment again to really celebrate all of these teachers here.
That was well said. Thank you. And thank you, teachers. You're amazing. I'll make sure they get a little celebratory token as well. Let's do that, Ms. Donath.
They're
We'll
amazing.
talk about it tomorrow.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank
so
you.
We just have one last thing to talk about next steps for the rest of the year, because we love these teachers, but we also have about 50 more that we're working with as well. And we have some next steps to share. Do you want to share?
I can. One thing I just wanted to highlight is we take the data that we collect mid-year and we use that to make decisions about what needs to happen next, so that we can continue to see that improvement through second semester. So one thing that we've done is we've revised the scope and sequence for the remainder of the coaching and PLCs based around the data that we collected, so that we can look to see movement in the areas that we maybe didn't see as much movement in first semester. The second thing we're really trying to do is supporting the principals and analyzing their data and monitoring their systems so that they can provide meaningful and actionable feedback to their teachers, because again, this is about sustainability, right, across the district and across time. And then our third thing, as I've already mentioned, is really working with that Math District Advisory Council to continue to create supports to help teachers and leaders increase their the student ownership in the classroom.
Well, thank you for allowing us to present with you today.
And I'm just proud of our teachers for being vulnerable and also being professional learners. This goes a long way, so thank you so much.
It sure does. Board members, do you have any questions?
Ms. Ross?
How many schools have the TNT program now for students?
This year, it is all of our middle schools except Reservoir Gifted Academy.
So it is all of middle schools.
Now it is, yes. At the beginning, it was just Lincoln and Mark Bills, but we have expanded. Each year, we grew a little bit more, and so now it's all of the middle
Well,
schools.
I thought it
except
was, but then I hear you talk about 3 schools, so, okay.
We wanted to highlight the work of the teachers that have been with us for 3 years.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
All right.
questions? Seeing none. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. Yep. All right, up next, we have the Director of Transportation, Josh Collins.
Good evening. Thank you very much, President Murphy, Vice President Dr. Renkin, board members, Dr. Karat. Just want to take a moment here to talk about a little bit about our partnership with Verigy, and also talk about the grant, the EPA grant that we received. If you want to go to the first slide. So basically, Peoria Public Schools Transportation Department has been pursuing various grants, different grant opportunities to pay for EV vehicles. The state government as well as the federal government are really pushing EV vehicles and really, a green infrastructure for school buses. So one of the grants that we applied for was a competitive grant last year. We were contacted in January and notified that Peoria Public Schools was selected to receive $6 million for the purchase of 15 EV vehicles, 5.9 million to be exact, to purchase EV vehicles for the district. Go to the next slide. So we partnered with Lion. Lion Bus is a manufacturer of EV vehicles. They've been making EV vehicles longer than any other bus manufacturer. They're a Canadian company, but they're also based in the United States. They built a very large plant here in Illinois in Joliet, so they're local to us. But they've been producing vehicles, and they have been in the industry making electric school buses longer than any other manufacturer. So we partnered with Lion to apply for that grant. Next slide. Our intention with the electric vehicles when we do receive those is we want to deploy these in the 61605 and 61603 zip codes. These zip codes seem to be heavily impacted, and we've talked about these zip codes before with air quality. So we want to make sure that we're deploying these clean vehicles in those areas to help with the air quality in those areas for those students. Next slide. So with Verigy and how Verigy comes in, and I have Michelle James here with Verigy. As you can see, this is a brief timeline. We've been working with Verigy for well over a year on different projects and different grants, attempting to apply for these grants. Because in addition to getting the vehicles, obviously we need an infrastructure to charge these vehicles, which will be different than what we currently have right now. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle. Next slide. And she can talk to you a little bit about what Verigy does and a little bit about our infrastructure.
Thanks, Josh. Good evening to the board and administration. Just a little background on Verigy. Again, my name is Michelle James with Verigy, and our company provides turnkey infrastructure solutions that improve the learning environment and really help districts accelerate their energy transition. So, as Josh mentioned, about a year ago, we actually got involved with the district in pursuing what that might look like in terms of if the district were to receive some electric buses and some of these grants. And so one of the things that we also have as part of our staff is a dedicated division for grants. And so we work directly with the district to put together the EPA grant submission, which included the solution that you see here today. So roughly what this shows you, it's kind of hard to see on this slide here, but it's essentially for 15 buses, which was the grant submission that we helped with, the electrical infrastructure that would be necessary, and the charging stations for those 15 buses. So this represents basically the electrical panels, the electrical wiring, some of the disconnects, and the charging stations. So we would actually be looking at level 2 charging stations for the buses, and then also 2 level 3 fast charging stations as well, for any time that perhaps you had other districts that came into Peoria School District that wanted to do a fast charging solution as well. So that's really the highlights here that you see of the infrastructure solution. If you go to the next slide. The other thing that we looked at, which was important in the grant submission, was ways that you could offset that usage. And so in addition to the previous slide where we showed the charging stations, the infrastructure, and actually a backup generator for resilience as well, we also looked at putting in a solar panel, solar array on the roof of the Richwoods High School. So what you see here where that blue star is actually the area that we would be looking and putting the solar array on the roof, and that would offset the electricity that would be used for the 15 EV buses. So you can see that helioscope there as well. And as part of the installation of the solar panel, we have to make sure that the roofing is in good shape. And so we've also included upgrading the roofing in the area where you see the blue star. The white roof that you see below is in good shape right now and would not need any additional upgrades. So if you move to the next slide, this provides you with an overview of the financials associated with the electrical infrastructure, with the charging stations, the generator, the solar-mounted roof array, and the roofing upgrades that are needed. So basically, the budget cost for those improvements would be $4.2 million that you see here. So one of the things that we evaluate as part of these solutions are what are the additional grants that are out there that can help offset these costs as well. So that first piece that you see, which is the annual EV and solar savings, essentially there are going to be some solar revenue that you're going to be generating from the solar panels, as well as we calculated what the savings would be from going to your diesel buses to the EV. So that's maintenance and savings from your electric usage as well, or gas usage rather. So on an annual basis, we estimate the $214,000 a year in savings. Also, through the state, and federally, there are some additional grants and incentives that we look at. So the federal government actually has a IRA tax incentive. So basically, that is a minimum of 30% that would be eligible for these types of projects. And so Verigy would help the district pursue that 30%. And actually, in the case of Peoria, you would be eligible for another 10% for American-made, and most likely another 10%, bringing it up to 50% for disadvantaged communities based on where basically we're to be serving with these electric buses. So that comes to about $1 million in incentives. We are also allowed to use depreciation over that 20-year period of time, which is about $1.4 million. And so when we put this into a cash flow, you actually have a 10-year payback, and then after 30 years, you're going to be bringing back $7 million in total to the district, which we feel like is a pretty impressive number for this type of improvement. So if you move to the next slide, looks like that's actually the end of the slide. But what we're looking for today really is just to move into the next step. As you can see from that previous slide, we have done all the necessary work in order to get the grants. And so the next step for us would be actually to take this preliminary design, do the final engineering, competitively bid that out, and then bring back a turnkey guaranteed contract to the district. So we appreciate the time and consideration.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Ross?
Yeah.
Thank you. Do you guys have any
There's
questions?
somebody else. Okay. Yeah, I had a quick question. You've been working with, what is it, Verigy?
Verigy. Mhm.
Okay. Was this a bidding process?
No, this partnership came out of a relationship, I believe, with Dr. Karat.
So wasn't supposed to be bidded?
I
Was
can
it
speak.
supposed to be? No, I mean, we wrote a grant together, and
Correct.
And
So
so
there's
it's not
also
a-
the SIPC piece
The-
that the district is a member of.
What does that stand for? SIPC.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So about a year ago, when we came in and learned that the district was interested in EV type projects, we came in and at risk really just provided an initial assessment just to see if this made sense on paper. So that was just something that we did at no cost to the district. And then again, when the grant came about, we also at no cost just offered our services to see if we could even successfully get awarded the grant for the district. What Josh is talking about is through the state of Illinois, there is a association called the Schools of Illinois Public Cooperative, and about a year ago, they actually went out and competitively pursued a request for proposals for companies like Verigy, and we were selected through that cooperative purchasing program to be an approved ESCO, Energy Services Company. And so Peoria School District became a member of the cooperative recently at no cost, and because of that, Peoria is able to use companies like Verigy that have been selected through that RFP process, as well as other companies that provide different services.
Okay, so, and how close are you working with buildings and grounds on when you talk about schools and redoing roofs and that kind of thing? I mean,
Very good question. Yes, as part of the assessment, we did work with the facility director to review the infrastructure for the transportation building and for the high school, as well as looking at the roof. So with administration, we looked at both the financials and the infrastructure itself.
You were part of that? Yeah, because I thought we recently did Richwood's roof. Just a part of it? I just want to make sure that we all, that the cart's not before the horse here.
No, we did do some roofing work at Richwoods. We didn't get that they had tagged as red.
Mm-hmm.
So we would just do that roofing, which saves us the expense.
Well, when you talk about 30 years, as far as your return, I don't see that school being there for 30 years, so I guess it would be somewhere else, right? In other words, will it last that long?
Will
the school last that long to get the return on the investment?
No reason it shouldn't.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Were there any other questions or comments from the board? right, seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And President Murphy, I just wanted to thank Ms. Michelle James for really working with us throughout these years. We've written several grants with them, and this one was successful. We could not have done it without their support, right, Josh?
That's correct.
That's a pretty impressive return on investment for the city of Peoria and for Peoria Public Schools and our communities and kids. Thank you.
Yep.
And Josh, thanks, Josh, for being the partner.
All right, our last district presentation on student foreign language trip, Anna Rose.
Bonjour, comment allez-vous? Dr. Karat, President Murphy, Dr. Ryan King, and board members. As you know, last year, I wrote a grant, the Fine Arts and Foreign Language grant, that allowed me to help the Foreign Language Department revamp their curriculum, provide services that weren't available to them by bringing in online resources, giving them funds to do flexible seating and make that environment more comfortable and engaging for students to help promote foreign language. So I promised the French students to have that same opportunity that the Spanish students had last year of experiencing a once-in-a-lifetime, really on-site, you can say, out of mind, out of this world, because a lot of the students never have the opportunity to leave Peoria, let alone go travel to another state. And that's what the students did, along with my staff, and they had a wonderful experience. And I am here to present my team and students that were on the trip, and they're so excited to share their experiences with you. Lamia?
Bonsoir tout le monde. Je m'appelle Vedrina and I am the co-president of the French club at Richwood High School, and we are here to talk about our experience at New Orleans, Louisiana.
Hey everyone, good evening to the board and to the audience. My name is Jamo Balama. I also go to Richwoods, and these are my fellow peers. If you guys want to introduce yourselves one by one.
I'm Carrington Burns, and I'm a freshman at Richwoods.
I'm Shamaya Harper, and I'm also a freshman at Richwoods.
My name is Caitlin Wisner, and I'm a junior at Richwoods.
Hi, my name is Rishana. I am a sophomore at Richwoods High School.
Yeah, so we'll just go one by one. We have some designated slides for the people, but go ahead, and if you want to add anything else, we can just do that. So, Carrington.
In New Orleans, there were a lot of interesting and fun things to do, but one of the things I found the most interesting were the
Can
coffins.
you speak in the microphone?
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Here, thank you.
One of the things I found the most interesting were the coffins or tombstones. In New Orleans, the coffins or tombstones are above ground due to the city being at or below sea level. If the coffins were to be placed in an in-ground tomb, it would be at risk of floating because they have a lot of like hurricanes and storms and being displaced from the ground. Thank you.
I'm glad I got to try a lot of food from New Orleans because a lot of things are like stemmed from there and their culture. Ooh. Dishes and culture in New Orleans are heavily inspired by Creole, Cajun, and African American influence, and popular dishes include gumbo and jambalaya. And I got to try gumbo, and I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. Most bodies in cemeteries are built above ground due to Hurricane Katrina, which rose bodies above the ground when they were buried underground. Some houses are built below sea level and at risk to the storm, so in order to protect them from the hurricane, concrete dams were built. And I got to see those too, and that was pretty cool to see, guys. I would love to live there.
And then one of, I would say, the most culturally significant places in New Orleans is the French Quarter. and it's known as the most historic neighborhood in New Orleans. And the French Quarter remains a place with many historic ties. And the architecture, that's one of my favorite things about the French Quarter, is it's very beautiful, and the architecture can be attributed to by the colonization from the French and the Spanish, so it's kind of like a mix of both when it comes to architecture, which I think is very interesting. And most of the streets in the French Quarter have French names. And here we have a picture of the St. Louis Cathedral, which we did get to go inside, and it was beautiful. And on the left of the St. Louis Cathedral, we have the Cabildo, which is currently one of Louisiana's state museums. And prior to being a museum, the Cabildo was the place where the commemoration ceremony for the Louisiana Purchase was held, which is very interesting. And the building currently provides information of past events in history while also remaining an important building in history. The architecture is styled after Spanish colonial style, and additionally, the Cabildo was also the place where the court case of Plessy versus Ferguson took place, which I found very interesting.
1898. That's a long time ago.
And then on the right, we have a very identical building, and that is the Presbytère. And it is also a museum owned by the state of Louisiana, and it holds exhibits about the Mardi Gras parades and about just the history and the culture that has to do with Mardi Gras, as well as exhibits on the hurricanes that have hit and endangered the lives of many in Louisiana. And I found both of those places, both exhibits, very, very interesting to learn about. And it was also originally one of the places where the Supreme Court of Louisiana took place. I think it took place, they had the Supreme Court there right before it was at the Cabildo. And it was also originally designed as a residence for the priests serving in the St. Louis Cathedral, like where they stayed.
As for, hold on, let's do that, okay. As for transportation, we did a lot of walking, which can get tiresome because our feet get tired. So we were able to go on different places via the trolley, and we even took a ferry over the Mississippi River to go to Algiers, which is a neighborhood in New Orleans. A lot of people go constantly via the ferry on a daily basis to and from Algiers to New Orleans, whether it's for school or for work. So it was really cool. We did think it was going to be longer, but it was like 30 seconds back and forth. So we were like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, it was very fun. And then one of the last things we got to do was we actually went to Mardi Gras World. So we got to see all the different floats that they do. And this is one of the main companies that deals with a lot of the floats for the Mardi Gras parades. Tomorrow is actually Mardi Gras, which reminds me I have to go get my supplies for our party tomorrow, 6th hour. Thank you, madam. Just for quick reference of how big these places are, I'm at the very bottom right there, doing my pose, and I look minuscule compared to that Princess Tiana. So these are some really big designs, and it was very, very extravagant to just see that live.
My favorite part from the trip was the picture on the top next to the sea or lake. It was very amazing. We had to dine in a very amazing buffet, and then I had to try some cultural stuff like the gumbo. I actually came from Africa, and trying the gumbo reminded me a lot about my past, and I was very excited to share this amazing experience. And we went to the Café du Monde, and I had to try the amazing beignets and the coffee. That was just an amazing experience. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's good, beignet.
Honestly, just to wrap it up in a tight little bow, this trip was really educational and also fun, and I thank all of the people that came and our staff that participated too. I just really thank you guys for everything you do for us. Thank you.
Before I leave, the French Club have a little gift for you. Madame Corey bought it during the Christmas season. I hope you guys will enjoy this chocolate.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
The most rewarding thing for me in writing the grant is getting to hear their experiences and getting get the high schools together, so they establish those friendships because they're isolated and they're their own identity, their own institution. But when they come together, they become one, and they represent our district so proudly, and I'm so happy that they were able to have this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna Rose, for writing that grant as well. And go ahead.
I want to say a big thank you, grand merci for Madame Anna Rose, because she's the one who put all her heart and the hard work in it. And I truly appreciate you, and I think you are the one who supported us the most in the last 5-6 years. So thank you, appreciate you. Thank you also.
Absolutely, yep. Thank you, yeah. And do we have any families here with these students who got to travel down there? If you would, please stand. Thank you for all your support and encouragement as well. And I will say, I've been to that place that you spoke of about the beignets, and it was one of my favorite things while we were there as well. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the food, I think, the most. Several of us board members got to travel recently, and so seeing these slides reminded us of what we got to see when we were down there as well. So yeah, it's an amazing experience. Yep.
Merci beaucoup.
All right, up next, we have presentation by audience. An individual may address the board at this time for no more than 5 minutes, with further time allotted as appropriate at the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Total time on any one subject shall exceed 20 minutes only at the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Each speaker will fill out a request to speak to the Board of Education card and present it to the board secretary before the meeting begins. Okay. We will start with Ms. Yolanda Wall.
That would be me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
As good evening, board and everyone listening. I was kind of moved with all the excitement that District 150 is doing, as it has always been a place in my heart because I have had children who go here and graduated from high school. I've had 3 children and I've served on the parent advisory board with some of you, some of the board members here. And then recently, and I just listening to you guys talk about the attendance and thinking about just last month, you guys were voting on my termination, which is fine. And so my role was a family support staff, and I was brought on with the violence prevention grant. It was shared between the Regional Office of Education and Peoria Public Schools. And it was, my strengths were building relationships, as I do in the community, still to this day. My weaknesses were the computer. So coming in the door, my 2 supervisors that I had were aware of my weaknesses, as well as Dr. Karat, so, which is where I learned about this position. And so as a family support staff, I did truancy. And so we met with the ROE at St. Paul Baptist Church. Those meetings, I sent out a letter to all of you. Did you get it? I sent a letter to the secretary to share with you guys about what I was going to say here today. And only thing I wanted you to know is that during my termination and leave and me being a truancy officer is that we had a staff of 5. I made lots of mistakes, but I certainly believe that whoever is in the next role in that position, in any grant that you guys decide on or that you write, that you make sure that there's accommodation for people who have a struggle with computer parts like I did. And I don't think that in the district, and I still think the district is a wonderful place because all my kids went here. But I still think that some of the ways that I was treated within the district, well, separate, because the regional office of education and the district, they do things totally opposite. So a lot of times I was in the middle of it and not always knowing the right choices of what to do. So I ask that when you decide to choose another person for that position, which I have already understood that that person is already chosen, it should probably be somebody who has been in the district for a while. But I believe that I was a very good candidate had I had the training that I deserved, that I felt like that I needed. Thank you very much for your time. And I just wanted to tell you that, and some of the, before I step down, some of the treatments that I had, that I experienced, where some days I was locked out of buildings to go into because not everybody, I had like two different people to be my boss. First it was Dr. Wilson, then I had Dr. Annette Coleman, and then I was at the Game Changers, so I was kind of twisted and turned to different places, and even visited with Ann Bond. So I had my trainings with her, and so when I came into my role, it was hard for me to determine exactly what I was supposed to do because I didn't get my job description until like a couple months later. So I came here today to express my concerns for anyone else that you would choose for this position. Not that I didn't think I was worthy, not that I am not capable, but I believe with the best training, better training that I would have, well, because and then being a truancy officer, I only had 2 days of observation. So I just thought that I would come and tell you as a concerned citizen, and this is not my first rodeo with Peoria Public Schools. Last meeting, I think you guys said that I had been a CNA too long. Thank you. But I just wanted you to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Vernon Johnson.
Good evening. I want to extend great thanks to the board, Dr. Karat, for allowing me a few minutes to share some thoughts. I watched the meeting from 3 weeks ago, and I noticed that some of the students from the Quest School were not certified. And I'm here tonight to ask that not let that certification be the only indicator of success at the school. I taught for more than 22 years, and then they called me one day, called me one day and said I was not qualified to teach anymore. It was real heartbreaking when I have, especially when I have successful evaluations. So I want to say this about the Quest Middle School certification. They are more than educators. I have an 11-year-old daughter who attends Quest. Whether they're certified or not, they have taught her more than the education. She also learned skills for life, teamwork, social skills, leadership, friendship, and nonviolence. On the other side, I have my son who attends Mart Sanders, and please do not accept this as a finger-pointing thing, but I gotta share my feelings, because if I point the finger 3-point at me and I accept every one of them, because it's my responsibility. Son has been in Mart Sanders K-4 this year. He's in the 4th grade. Certain parts of the day we would get calls about negative behavior. Go to the school and I'm reaching out. I don't know what to do. I came out, Dr. Karat, to speak to you on a couple of occasions. Your assistant did help me greatly. So we come together and We have the meetings with the principal, assistant principal, counselor, teacher, me, my wife, and we try to devise a plan. And the behavior continued. I was at wit's end when I go to the school one day and some young man comes up and just aggressively condemns my son to me. I didn't like it. So I asked my son, tell me what's going on. He replied, nobody likes me. You hear a 9-year-old say that, and it bothers you. So here I think, man, I can't have my son thinking like that. I get another call, again, aggressive. I get another call. I take my son out of the school. I don't need all of that negative feedback from the adults because that's just like bullying. My son is currently homeschooled. Again, Dr. Karat through Ms. Clausen, great help. But we had planned on him to go to Quest next year, along with his sister, to help him with his lacks or his math inabilities. We purchased additional tools for him to work on the computer. I'm saying that because Quest has given my daughter something that he didn't get. Again, I'm not meaning to point fingers, but I gotta share the comparison. Next, I want to talk about the academic goals. Just a few things to ponder. Quest High School performed commendable the past 3 years. There's one District 150 high school that is at that level. The middle school was targeted for 2 years and then reached commendable. We have 13 middle schools, and I accept responsibility for this as well. But we have 13 middle schools. 4 of them are commendable.
Okay. At this time, that was the end of your 5 minutes. Are you requesting any more
And
additional?
may I please? And
How much time would you need to continue?
If you give me another 5, I'll wrap it up as quickly as possible. But
We can't do another 5 minutes.
Okay,
Could you wrap it up in another minute
I tell you
if
what.
the board
I'm easy to get along with, sir. You tell me how much I got.
board would you approve another minute to wrap things up for this gentleman?
1 minute.
Speak.
Yep.
1 minute.
Okay.
Yes.
I had some questions, but I'm gonna do this. It takes a village to raise a child. It is your responsibility,
1 minute.
and the teachers, administrators. We gotta do the right thing for all students involved. We cannot ostracize one educational institution for another. We gotta make sure that these young people are where we need them to be. How are we gonna do it? I say it's a partnership. Let's discuss it. Don't just, if it's not right for me, we move it, we end it, we kill it. When I was in the kindergarten, the thing that they taught me was, I know I can, I know I can, I know I can. When I got older, they said, if first you don't succeed, try again. I had a few more, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
Please take that into consideration when you rethink that West School closing.
Thank you very much. Next, up next, we have Ms. Parkman. Nairi? Okay, Nairi.
Hello again.
Hello.
I'm just coming again just on the behalf request, and I wanted you guys to just take a few more things into consideration. when you guys are deciding the decision that you guys have made or will continue to proceed to do. I was ready this time, okay? So I wanted you guys to know and understand, as we all know, that the District 150 schools that you guys have advertised them to be, they did not become that way overnight, with even a year or like even within a decade. I was watching some of the teachers up here and they displayed that they had been with the district for 13, 15 years and they finally found a program this year, you know, to help their students with math skill. They finally found some things that work for them this year. And so bringing that up, Ms. Jenkins is new to Quest. I believe she's been there for about 2 years now, from my understanding. I'm not for sure. I'm not certain. But we have to take that into consideration too, because within the time periods that she has been there, she has made improvements and she has done what she could, no matter if it was to you guys' standards or to the state standards. I feel like that should count, especially like within the time frame that she has. She did this in 2 years. What they've been trying to do from what I'm observing, 13 to 15. So I believe that should be taken into consideration. And like you guys are also, from what I know, you guys are partnering with Quest. So there are certain programs that Quest don't have that you guys ever have been advertising with the schools. And so my thing is that like if you guys know we need these programs and you guys are pouring into these other schools, why not do that with Quest? You know, they work hard just as well as your other schools do. And just like the District 150 schools, from what I've learned, they're an extension of you. So I feel like those same type of things should be poured into Quest if you guys actually wanted to keep it open. That's something to be considered, just to give them the same opportunity that you guys are giving the District 150 schools. I've been doing my research when it comes to school because the girls are possibly transition. I haven't put in my notice yet, but I noticed like a lot of schools, the rating is supposed to be 10. Most of them don't even come up to 1 to 3, you know, and you guys are sitting there holding Quest at this standard, but the District 150 scores aren't, you know, they're not. And so to me, that's not fair as well. Because they've had like those schools been there since I was little. I'm 34, and they still in those ratings, and a lot of those ratings has not changed no matter what you guys have added to the school or no matter what you guys put into the school. Granted, there are some positive things that come to it, but if it's not getting recognized for the most part where it's supposed to, then I feel like it's kind of pointless, especially with you guys like keeping track and how you guys are like targeting Quest. And with that being said, like with documentation, you guys said something about the referrals and the behaviors and the stuff that they're having and how there was not enough, I guess like going back to like revisit the stuff. So with that, I think that should be looked at too, because I know most of the time, like they be so busy, you know, documentation is important, but also with her just getting into the system and with her staff and with the staff being changing as it has and just everybody adapting, there are certain plans that need to be worked out and be put in place so that if documentation is a problem, like it has been, you know, just not just with attendance, referrals, different programs with the District 150 schools, then some type of plan should be put in place so that you guys can get them on track or even figure out like what it is that they're doing wrong for this not to be kept. I know for a fact that nobody has actually visited the school to actually see what they're doing. Like granted, sometimes like you guys got the presentation and stuff up here, but who has actually went down and sat in the school and observed these children and observed the programs that they have and the things that they're doing with the kids? Nobody. But yet, all of a sudden, Quest shuts down and we having our meeting to figure out what we're going to do with the children and just to understand our rights. And we have people from, I don't remember who it was, but it's the fact that they're showing up now at this meeting. Well, when the school was actually open, nobody showed up to even figure out, you know, well, if we're going to shut this down or, you know, how much progress is it making? What do we have here? Nobody went to step in and to visit it, to see what was going on or anything. I don't think it's fair also that July 31st is you guys' new school date. Our parents, from what I have observed, they think that their children will have nowhere to go because of what they're being told, because of the letters that you guys are putting out. That is wrong. I feel like that's sabotage, because with them being scared, it's giving Quest. They're not going to have a ballot once it comes to redraw because all the children are going to be enrolled in the District 150, and the parents are not being educated the right way. And then on top of that, why did the starting date get moved up to July 31st? It's just wrong. I feel like, granted, you guys are trying to have a place, for the children to go, but I believe that the parents should also be educated correctly when it comes to things like that, so that they will not be scared, and so that we can still give Quest a fighting chance to even have students to attend. So that's all for now.
right,
I'll be back whenever.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
hearing me.
Thank you. And our last speaker for this evening, Lanaya Parkman.
Okay, y'all. Ooh. Okay, y'all. So, hi. I am a student and a cheerleader of Christ, so I'm up here to stand up for my school. Hi. My name is Lanaya Parkman, and I am here to support Quest. I know Quest is a good school for both boys and girls who. Ooh, hold on. Okay, anyway. For both boys and girls who have behavior issues, either good, bad, in between, any of that. And little do y'all know, like my mom was saying, y'all have not came up to the schools and actually observed them. The children there, and I go there, I see everything. The children there are actually very smart and very talented. No matter what we go through, we still manage to get through things, no matter the cost. And I'm shaking. But anyway, no matter the cost. I feel like the people who are trying to close down Quest should not go over behavior issues, because in the end we all go through things, and that's why we have such wonderful teachers to talk to and try to get us through those situations and help us do better. Now, let's talk about the teachers. I feel like the teachers should have a say in this, because in the end, if y'all close down Quest, where would the teachers go? Yes, they have other jobs. There's other jobs in the world, but what about the ones who don't? You really need to think about that. And in the last meeting, I didn't hear a lot about the teachers, not for real. Y'all said it was about the kids, but I didn't hear a lot about the kids either. Social skills, all that other stuff. Sometimes I want to wake up in the morning next year and be like, wow, I really want to talk to my friends. I really want to talk to these teachers, but I realize I can't because the school is going to be closed. And that's messing me up, like for real. And then, yeah. I just said most of my paper. I feel like District 150 school was targeted at the start. With unrealistic expectations, District 150 schools cannot meet or has not met those school expectations. Oh, and like my mom was saying, those schools did not meet those, District 150 schools did not meet those expectations overnight or over decades. So I feel like Quest should have that same exact thing, because yeah, y'all stuff was good. Y'all stuff was really good. But don't y'all feel like y'all should give Quest a chance to prove that stuff too? And they have. And Quest is a great school. So like, keep it open. And I'm done. Thank y'all. Yeah.
Thank you. At this time, we'll ask for a response to audience presentation.
As usual, I always thank everyone, the Parkmans, the Wallaces, and Vern, for coming out and just sharing their thoughts with us. What I'll say is, if anybody wants, we do have a webpage specifically assigned for Quest, and it's www.psd150.org/quest. And it has great information, guidelines for parents. We've had 5 open houses, a very, very successful one at Richwoods. All of the Quest kids, high school students, will go to Richwoods. Transportation will be provided. There are lots of other options for them. Driver's ed will be provided in the summer, and I've spoken to quite a bit of parents and students who are very excited about those opportunities. There's also someone they can talk to. Halima in the communication department is our contact with any troublesome or specific questions. Halima helps help them problem solve If it's too difficult for her, we brainstorm, we talk about it, and we've done that for about maybe 6 or 7 parents. So we've done a nice job, I think, with that webpage. We've sent out letters. We're doing texts as well. We've sent out texts, Sarah and Halima. And so I know that it's, you know, and we understand, the board understands, I understand. It's, you know, it's a big change, and it's a disruption, for example, for the Parkman young lady. You did a really nice job, and so we get it. It's a disruption for you. I mean, it's kind of like shutting down your school, and so it's personal and it's tough. And so we're very patient, and we're willing to work and help you problem solve and find the right fit for you. And we understand if it takes a while as well, because some people are more, some people are easier to pivot and just jump to the next thing, and others, it takes them a while. So we get it. We'll be patient, and we'll continue to work with every, we won't stop. We will wait for every Quest family and every student to come on board, and we'll welcome. I have been very pleased. We have a meeting every week, very pleased with our staff and our team, just willing and ready to accept and happy to accept Quest students into the family. And this is a big takeaway for me, how excited and happy staff members are, and everyone on the Peoria Public Schools umbrella are happy to accept and provide a good plan for the Quest integration students. So, so that is a few remarks, and I know Vern talked about the 3 high schools. Vern are commendable, and we go way back, PIC days in the 80s, so I'll be happy to talk to you and put a plan together for your son. So I think you have my phone number. If not, let's talk sometime, but I'll be happy to chat with you. And I've had your little Vern, your son. I was his teacher, so yeah, let's put a plan together for the little. I don't know the little kids. I just know the older kids. So I'd be happy to do that, and so let's connect. And and I think, President Murphy, I think that's all. And it's it's a tough time right now because they're opposing views, and so we just want to stay focused on the work that we have to do, which is getting the kids to come on board to register for their classes and help them get ready for the 24-25 school year. And there's some intentional efforts to muddy the waters, but I mean, it comes with the work. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Up next, we will move on to approval of the January 8th and 22nd, 2024 minutes as presented. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross? Aye. Mr. Wilson? President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 6 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on next to our information items, the superintendent update.
I would just like to thank our parents for participating in the Superintendent Challenge. There is a prize for every kid, so continue reading, continue practicing those sight words, those high-frequency words, continue to focus on those critical benchmarks. You do that, it's not, you won't win a prize. Your prize is waiting for you. You can pick either your bike or your tablet or your gift card. So I would like each and every child, and the whole idea is for additional supports at home, kids reading, kids practicing. And when we see that, that part of our parental engagement piece as well, when that happens, we'll see increased growth, increased achievement, increased performance. So that's the reasoning behind the superintendent challenge. And then, incentivizing and giving the kids something to look forward to. So that would be my update. That's my update.
I have several kids who are looking forward to getting their items.
Awesome. I want every kid. We have something for every kid. So kids, families, please help them. I want everyone. We have it. We have their prize for them.
Thank you. Financial update, budgeted, encumbered, expended, balanced, and percent balance.
Year-to-date expenditures through February 12th, year-to-date revenue through February 12th totaled $145.3 million. That's 54.2% of the budget, and we're typically, for the entire month, at 54.2% of budget on revenue. So in terms of revenue, we're going to be a little bit ahead of the game in February. In terms of expenditures, we spent year-to-date through February 12th, $153.2 million. That was 55.2% of the budget. Typically, through February, we're at 60.3% of budget. So we, on expenditures, are poised to beat budget during the month of February and have those come in slightly less than what we typically see. That concludes my report for revenues and expenditures through February 12th. If there are questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions for Mr. Willis? Seeing none, thank you. Okay, next, proposed expenditures over $2,500. Any questions? Okay, seeing none. Number 4, the report of requests under the Freedom of Information Act and status of such requests.
Thank you, President Murphy. Since our board report on January 22nd, we received 5 no requests, and there was 1 pending request on January 22nd. Of those, 0 request remains open. We have received to date 8 requests for this calendar year at a total cost of $400. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have the consent agenda.
The consent agenda consists of number 1, gifts to school district year-to-date, $111,677.09. Number 2, payment of bills. Number 3, payment for travel. Number 4, human resource report. Number 5, memorandum of understanding with Peoria City County Health Department Narcan vending machine. Number 6, summary plan document health plan. Number 7, facilities master plan. Number 8, Verigy, letter of intent, clean bus infrastructure, charging stations, generator, solar array, and roofing upgrades. Number 9, Mid-Central Affiliation, MCA, extension of memorandum of understanding between Peoria Public Schools and participating special education districts for 23-25. Is that right? 23-25? Cami? For 2 years? Number 9. For the 23-25 school year, or is it 23-24 school year? It's through 25, so that's correct? Okay. Number 10, Envision Mathematics student workbooks. Number 11, STEM trade book sets for integration of science topics into literacy thematic units. Number 12, approval of Skills USA Leadership Conference. Number 13, Richwoods High School United Nations Conference. And that is the conclusion of the consent agenda.
No. Thank you very much. Were there any consent agenda items that a board member would like to have pulled for discussion?
Number 7.
Number 7. Okay. Any others? Okay. To go ahead and discuss. Do we need a motion to do the consent first? Okay. Meaning you want me to do approval of, okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, except for number 7, as presented.
Second.
Madam Secretary, will you call roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Ranking?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. All right, number 7, Facilities Master Plan.
Discussion?
Discussion.
So my questions for the facilities master plan, I was able to attend the last buildings and grounds meetings. And my question has to do with the facilities study that was conducted in 2019, 2020. I know that this is different, but somewhat can be seen as an extension. And my question is, have we ever gotten a formal report to the board for that facilities study that they did? I don't think so. Have we?
We have not, there's not been a presentation to the board for the facility study, the assessment. There's not been a presentation to the board. There was a summary overview that was part of the facilities or committee, building and grounds committee. But in terms of the full board, there's not been a full presentation of that. No.
And so my concern is with spending $500,000, not knowing from a board perspective, from a full board perspective, what happened in that facility study and what the findings were. I would like to have a discussion on, as a board, having that presented to us and letting us know. I know that we had the opportunity to attend the Buildings and Ground Committee, but most of us on this board work during the day and couldn't attend that. And so having that before we decide to spend more money of our district money to know how this plan will be different, what the deliverables will be for that, and how this is different from the facility study, which again, we haven't had a full presentation on to show us what was found and why this $500,000 is then needed to then provide to this same organization. So that's kind of where my discussion or thought points are.
Okay. What are you asking to have?
So with that, I would like to call a motion to have this tabled, the facilities plan tabled, until we can get a full report before the board discussing the facility study with clear documentation or clear reasoning to the full board of kind of justifying this $500,000 and what we as a board would get out of that, specifically focused on what the facility study showed us.
Second.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Motion
question.
and second.
So I'm trying to understand, board member Rankin, are you saying that the board missed out on some information? If you went to the meeting, did you not get some clarification on the plan?
I got clarification on what was going to be put for the master plan, but I'm saying as a full board, we haven't ever had a presentation and discussion for the facility study, what happened in 2019 and 2020 for that facility study, what the findings were, and kind of the justification of why this master plan is needed from a full board perspective. And so
Now, is that something, pardon me, is that something, because we have different committee reports all the time and we don't get a full spectrum. So what I'm trying to understand, your problem, your reservation with this is because you disagree with the plan?
Nope, I don't disagree with
specifically?
Nope, I don't disagree with the plan. I want to make sure that since this is a fiscal responsibility from the board, that just to table this, not saying that we don't do it, but to table it until we have a wider discussion as a board with a presentation from the architect and what happened with the facilities plan, and that we have that presentation and discussion as a full board in open session. So I did a motion, and I don't know if you heard
I still have,
Chase.
yes, I have. Please, pardon me, please. Pardon me, please. So, because I'm just still trying to understand. So you're looking for information on a study that was done in 2019, and we're in 2024, and you've been a part of the board since then, and there's not been any request for information prior to now. And so your motion is for us to table it and I don't agree with that because that's going to slow us down. Thank you.
Good. You want to summarize what happened?
So basically, was there a presentation on the facilities plan?
There was a
Facility
master
study.
plan presentation. I think it was November.
Yeah.
There, there was a presentation by IDG on the facilities master plan proposal, I believe in November.
And we also had 2 different meetings for any board member to attend online, on Teams, to get any additional information that they would need to ask as it relates to this.
So, Mr. Chair, President Murphy,
Yeah.
can we amend that motion to not table and let's just vote on a approval, and then if it passes, it passes, and then if it doesn't,
We can't do that because
then
she's
we
already
can
made
go.
the proposal and it's been seconded.
Okay,
Am I correct in
then,
that?
Yes, you can vote.
so then we are now voting on the tabling of it.
Yes. Yes. At this
Okay,
point, we're just
thank
voting
you.
to table. Yes. So, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
No.
Dr. Rankin?
Yes.
Mrs. Ross?
No.
Mr. Wilson?
No.
President Murphy?
Yes.
We have 4 ayes, 3 nays.
Okay. So then at this.
That's not true. You have 4
So now we'll
nays
go ahead
and
and-
3 ayes.
You have 4
We
nays,
have 4
not
nays
to
3 ayes.
and
table.
3 ayes.
Now we would like to vote on
Yes.
passing it.
Yes. That's correct. Okay.
Someone needs to make that motion.
So can I get a motion then to approve?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Yes.
Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
No.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin?
No.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
No.
So, Mrs. Costick, I'm sorry, you said aye? Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3. We have 2 nays.
3.
3 nays and 4 ayes.
Okay. I'm sorry. 3 nays, 4 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Okay. Moving on now to deliberation agenda.
I make a motion for number 14, expulsion with the expulsion to be held in abeyance.
Second.
Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Your mic's not on, Cammy. I don't know if she can hear you.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Number 15, I move for expulsion.
Second.
Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus?
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
And number 16, oh, sorry. And number 16, I motion for the revocation of expulsion held in abeyance.
Second.
Madam Secretary, will you call the roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus? Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin? Mrs. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
7 ayes, motion carries.
Thank you. Next, we have presentation and suggestions by board members. Do we have any?
I have a question. Dr. Karat, are you going to do a when can we have a presentation about the movement of students from Quest? I know that we're still in limbo, and so maybe not yet, but do you have a date that you can present that?
What I chose to do, and I'm happy to give a presentation, is I have the, that I've been sending to the board, the timeline with all of the data and all of the information, knowing that we're going through the hearing phase.
Okay.
But I could.
To dovetail on that, I would like to know, in that presentation that you sent out, there was some reference to full-day school at Woodruff. Could you please explain that?
We are working on expanding that offering and providing. We had some of the Quest parents, actually, that was one of the questions that they asked. Some of them live right across the school and wanted that school as an option, that program as an option. They would still be enrolled underneath, like it is right now, underneath the Richwoods school code, but could potentially, we currently have about 20-something children who are attending there full-time, so just expanding that pilot. So we have two things happening, and so it's just it's just really expanding it and providing more kids an opportunity to go there full-time. And we currently have about 20 students.
Do they do there full-time?
They do everything. They not only do they do the career pathway, but they do their English, the social studies, the science. They do that full-time there.
That's a choice, right?
That's a choice. That's a choice.
As it relates to committees, 3 board meetings ago, maybe, Director Boone but Director Boone had come to the podium to buy some body cams, to recommend buying body cams. And since that time, we tabled it, and we all voted to table it, I think. I don't know who all voted for it. But at that point, we said we'd set up a committee, and we have set up a comprehensive safety committee, which includes Director Boone, the Chief of Police, and several other people that are in the community. And that's been going well. We have one more meeting. It was an ad hoc meeting where we will look at the whole comprehensive view of safety. And a lot of things have come out. And some of the principals, all 3 of the high school principals were part of that. And they were very pleased to be on the committee so they could actually say what they saw from the inside needing to be done. So overall, it's been a pretty good job done by Director Boone, but we'll be coming back with a committee report.
Okay.
And then he can, we'll come back with everything that needs to be done, not just one thing. Okay?
Good, thank you. Were there any other reports from board committees?
Yes, sir. President Murphy, the policy committee will meet again on February 21st at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Any others?
We haven't set a date yet, so.
Okay. Seeing none, may I please get a motion to adjourn?
So